Antidote, licensed professional counselor, the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday here at noon. Yes, noon, which is now noon Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are amazing. They are international. So if you are anywhere in the world and you need to get to a therapist, you just go on to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez, and they will have you fill out some questionnaires, and then they'll put you with a therapist here in the US of A. And like I said, if you're in the US of A, you don't like your therapist and you want to get somebody else, go to betterhelp.com. They'll set you up with a licensed professional therapist in your state, master's level or PhD level. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. All right, cool beans. All right, so things I want to talk about before we dive into the thing. So books that you need to be getting: Splitting by Randy Krieger and Bill Eddy, if you're going through a divorce. Also, if you are going through a divorce, oh, where did it go? Where did it go? The No Nonsense Guide to Let me just throw some things off my desk here. The No Nonsense Guide to Divorce by Lori Hellis. Really good book. I've been reading it. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. It's really good. And she offers some really good practical advice for divorcing, because honestly, unless you're a paralegal or have gone through law school, the legal system is completely a mystery to most people. So she breaks it down. I really like that a lot. Of course, there's my girl, Susanna Quintana at SusannaQuintana.com. You're Still That Girl. Awesome book. Get it. Of course, Shahida Arabi. Love her. So the Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People. Great book. Highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly. My books, of course. Now, also, I wanted to let you know. So finally, the Audible situation has been fixed. So the So You Want to Be a Therapist is now available on Audible everywhere in the universe that takes Audible. So Audible has been fixed. So So You Want to Be a Therapist is now available on Audible, Amazon, Kindle, you name it, it's there. So there's that. And then, of course, my other books, What's Wrong with Your Dad, and You Can Lead a Horse to Water, but You Can't Make Him Cha-Cha. So there is that. Okay, so announcements. I am finally going back on tour. Susanna and I were not able to connect this weekend, but we will be connecting to try to figure out joint dates. So right now I've got Salt Lake City up on chrisgodinez.com. Tickets are available. They are limited. There's only 10. So there is that. And also Santa Barbara, which will be in May. So Salt Lake City is April 23rd, I think. The dates are on there. And Santa Barbara is going to be May 28th, I think is the date. So far, those are the next two coming up. I'll get one up for June. I have to talk to my sister to try to coordinate plans with that. So I'll get that figured out. That's probably, more than likely, that's going to be Sacramento, would be my guess. So anyway, that'll be that. So there is that. I think that's, podcast. This is also available on a podcast now. It's now podcast format, podcast on everywhere where you get podcasts. I have no idea where that is because, technologically impaired. Anyway, there is that. So did I miss anything? No? Okay. All right. So that is it. All right. Okay, guys. So today I wanted to talk about kids as pawns. And I don't necessarily mean when they are when you're in the middle of a divorce and they're using the kids to, hurt the other person or whatever. We already know about all of that. So I wanted to talk a little deeper how narcissists, especially how abusive parents, abusers, malignant borderlines, etc., how they already have a job for the kid before the kid is even born. And that's really damaging. So I wanted to talk about, why do they do adoption? If they're just going to ignore the kid, or if they're just going to abuse the kid, why do they do in vitro? Why do they so desperately want to have children when they really don't want to have children? So, all right. So this is what we're going to talk about. All right. So here's the deal. Abusers never do anything without an agenda. They just don't. It's just, That is their nature. So it's always what is going to benefit them. Okay. They never, a healthy person, when you're looking at having children, you go, oh my gosh, this is a calling for me. I want to have children because I love kids and I would like to raise a little one and I would like to be a mom or a dad or whatever. And you have that maternal or paternal instinct to help the next generation and raise that child and want them to be them. Now, with somebody who is disordered, that is simply not there. That's not going to happen. So for them, there is a reason they want those kids, and it has nothing to do with the child. It's not like they've wanted to be a parent their entire lives. It's not like they like children. It's not because they don't like anybody. Remember, they don't have the same feelings we do. So they don't have that maternal or paternal instinct to raise and love that child. So when they are looking to get into a relationship, they're looking to trap the partner, basically, is what's going on. And this happens with both men and women. So I want to be perfectly clear here. It's not just female abusers that trap people. It's male abusers do the same thing, and they use pregnancy to keep that partner with them. So here's what happens. So if you've got a male abuser, okay, and you're thinking of leaving, they will start sabotaging the birth control. I have seen them put holes in the condoms. Yes, they do that. And they will, well, it has a hole in it. Oops, that kind of thing. Or they take the condom off in the middle of the sexual act. Or, if you're dealing with a female narcissist or a female abuser, they'll do the same thing and claim that they're on birth control when they're not. The other thing I've seen them do is female abusers will fake a pregnancy. Now, here is something that just blew my mind. I don't know why it did. It shouldn't. Nothing should shock me anymore, but it still does. When I was researching this, how abusers use kids as pawns in order to keep a relationship going. And you're probably sitting there thinking to yourself, why in the world would they want that? Well, with an abuser, they have to have narcissistic supply. So that kid is seen as a means to an end, male and female. So usually the male and female reason for abusers to have children is to keep that partner stuck with them for the next 18 plus years. This goes for adoption. This goes for in vitro. This goes for pregnancies. This goes for all of it. So what I have seen abusers do in adoption situations is that they will convince the partner that yes, they are maternal or paternal and that they want to raise these children, and they will adopt a bunch of kids, or they will adopt children with high needs. And then they think that that's going to keep that partner stuck with them. Now, if the partner is healthy, they're going to say, no, I'm not staying in an abusive relationship, and they'll, get out with the kids. It just makes it a lot harder if you've got a special needs child. But that is the reasoning. That's what these abusers do. Plus the fact, in several instances, not just one, I've had cases where the abuser intentionally adopted children in order to abuse them, because the children were nonverbal or the children were disabled to the point where they couldn't express what was going on, and then they would abuse them. So that is a common occurrence as well. So I was looking up all of these articles. And this is the thing that just blew my mind when I was researching. This is what I was going to tell you, is that female abusers will fake a pregnancy. Female abusers, and I had this happen with one of my clients. It was insane. So the client was able to get away from the female abuser, and the female abuser supposedly showed a positive pregnancy test and then started showing this growing belly. Well, the pregnancy test and the growing belly belonged to a girlfriend of hers. Never showed her face, never showed, you know what I'm saying? It's like, never showed anything, below or above, And so finally I said, you may want to be getting some pictures of the whole person, because this is really suspicious that you're only getting shots of the pregnant belly and not of the whole person. So let's, demand a pregnancy test, demand a paternity test. Let's see what's going on. And as soon as it was exposed, the first thing that the abuser did was, oh, I miscarried. And then finally the whole story came out that, no, I just wanted you back and I was blah, 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 blah. So apparently abusers are able to go on to online and buy positive pregnancy tests, which I think should be illegal. I really, truly do, because it is trapping a person into an abusive relationship. Anybody that has to do that, dear Lord. But you've got to remember, abusers don't think of it as, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't think of it as the moral implication because they don't have a moral compass. The rest of us would be shocked and horrified and mortified and whatever that, oh my gosh, you have to do this in order to keep a partner? Really? But for them, it's a means to an end. And so they will do things like that. They will fake pregnancies. They will get the positive pregnancy test as proof that they're pregnant. And then, of course, there was another instance where the partner kept wanting to go to the doctor's visits. And of course, the person wasn't really pregnant. And so they kept coming up with reasons why they couldn't go. And then finally it all blew up and the whole thing. But yeah, they do this, guys. They're male and female. It's not just one or the other. I want to be perfectly clear. Both male and female abusers pull this using a child as a means to keep the relationship going or continuing or get back to them or whatever. And they have a job for the kid. So let's be perfectly clear. When an abuser is looking to have children, they've already got a job for that kid. That job is for that kid to be the mini-me, usually. So the kid is supposed to be their inheritance, their mini-me, their continuing on of their line or whatever. So, and in vitro, oh, dear Lord, what I have seen them do is that they will get together with somebody, not get pregnant, and then demand that they spend, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on in vitro in order to get pregnant. And then once the children are born, they abdicate and they don't raise them and they turn them over to nannies or they turn them over to the other parent and they have nothing more to do with them and they hit the bars. And it's because the children were a means to an end. The children were a way to keep that person connected to them. So I wanted to hit a couple of articles that I thought, well, more than a couple, there's like 4. So the first one is red flags that the pregnancy is a trap. So this is about women trapping men, and we're going to talk about men trapping women next. So trap number 1, the pregnancy pulled you back from the brink. So in other words, okay, you guys were about to break up. Things are getting a little rocky and you're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm tired of the abuse. I'm tired of the cycle. I'm leaving. And then suddenly, pregnancy. So usually what ends up happening is most partners will unfortunately do the quote unquote right thing and stay in the relationship. That is the worst thing to do. So, and unfortunately, I've seen this multiple times where the woman gets pregnant or she says she's pregnant and then they decide to come back, work things out, etc. And then what ends up happening is they go on to divorce anyway. And now the abuser, the female abuser, is using that kid as a pawn with the other parent, male or female. Because remember, this can happen in same-sex marriages. This can happen in heterosexual marriages. It can happen in any marriage. So, and they would use that kid as a means to get money. And they would use the kid as, what's the word I'm looking for? Extortion, I think is a good way to put it. So, it's like, you need to give me more, you need to give me more, you need to give me more. So there was that. Okay. All right. You made it clear that you did not want kids. So you've had the talk. And this is what healthy, normal people do, is they have the talk. They decide whether or not they want children, because this is kind of a huge topic. And this is something that needs to be talked about prior to committing to somebody. Because let's say that you're with an abuser and, oh yeah, of course I want kids. Or, oh yeah, da, 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 da. But then you get into the relationship and then they're like, no, I don't want a kid. And you're like, but I do. And then, of course, by that time, they've been doing the cycle of abuse. They've been doing the intermittent positive rewards, and they brainwash you into thinking you don't want a kid. And then you finally get out of that relationship and you regret not having a child. Or conversely, oh yeah, I don't want children. No, I don't want kids at all. No. And then you get into the relationship and then they start pressuring you to have a kid. That's a huge red flag, because this should have been talked about prior to committing. Now, that's not to say that people cannot change their minds, but if you get into a relationship and you clearly don't want children, and this person starts trying to pressure you into having kids, and you're like, no, I don't want kids, then you guys need to go your separate ways. Nope, I don't want motherhood, or I don't want fatherhood, or whatever. You need to find somebody else. Is it heartbreaking? Yeah. But if you're with somebody who's trying to convince you to have a child when you don't, or who suddenly shows up pregnant when you've said you don't want children, that's a huge, huge red flag. Now, that's not to say that birth control doesn't occasionally fail. It does. So, but that's a very different conversation, because if you've got two healthy people, you're going to be discussing options. You're going to be talking about, do we keep the child? Do we give it up for adoption? Do we do an abortion? What do we do? What's the plan? It's not forcing something on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So the difference, though, with an abuser is it's their way or the highway. They've already made the decision. They've already fixed all this stuff in their heads. Conversely, I've also seen narcissists use abortion as a form of manipulation in order to get the spouse to stay. They threaten to abort, so they do that as well. They're heinous. They're no moral compass. They don't care about another living soul, literally, other than themselves. And the children and the spouses are used as pawns, and that really pisses me off. Okay. Okay, you made it clear you didn't want kids. There's a really not logical reason for going off of birth control, so they don't even bother to try to find an alternate means of birth control. So a lot of women do not tolerate the pills well. I was one of them. I couldn't stand it. So John and I switched to other forms of birth control. And finally, John got a vasectomy because we were like, we just don't want kids. So let's just finish it, So, there's no talking about other forms of birth control. It's always excuses. It's always like, oh, I can't get pregnant. That's something I've heard them use before as well. I can't get pregnant. Oh, it's the wrong time of the month. Let's be clear. You can get pregnant anytime during your cycle, anytime, even on your period. So let's be clear about that. So yeah, you can get pregnant at any point in time. So if somebody lies to you and says, oh, I can't get pregnant. Oh, it's the wrong time of the month. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Y'all should be looking that stuff up instead of just thinking with another part of your body. You need to be thinking with this part of your body. Do you see where I'm going with that? To make sure that they're not lying to you. So there is that. Okay. So oftentimes when an abuser is wanting to create a child in order to trap somebody, they go for the over-the-top seduction. They go for the over-the-top love bombing. They go for the over-the-top everything. And then they come up with excuses why they don't wear a condom or whatever. Now, here's another thing I've seen them do. They will try to inseminate themselves using sperm left over in the condom and try to get pregnant that way. That's also been documented. So, they're devious like nobody's business. Okay. Red flag number 6. I can't get pregnant today. That's another lie. Red flag number 7, not really pregnant. Not really pregnant. So if somebody says they're pregnant and then they're like, oh, I was just kidding. No, they weren't. Conveniently timed miscarriage. I talked about that. So that's how women do that. Let's see. Where's the male one? Oh, here's this one. Examples of sabotage for male abusers include hiding, withholding, or destroying the partner's oral contraceptives, breaking or poking holes in the condoms on purpose, which I have seen happen or have been reported to happen. Even removing the condom during sex, stealthing. That's what that's called. In Cut article, I can't even say this word. Obstetrics and gynecological resident found that 16% of women who received routine OBGYN care at the hospital in which she worked had received unwelcome pressure to get pregnant. Their boyfriends or partners made it hard for them to use birth control, poking holes in the condom or hiding their pills or threatening to leave or harm them if they didn't get pregnant. So yeah, abusers are not above doing threats. They're not above threatening to withhold the relationship. They're not above threatening to harm the person if they don't get pregnant. There's all sorts of stuff that abusers do. And basically what they're doing is they're using those kids as a way to keep connected to the partner. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what is the situation around that? A lot of times you will find that these partners that do that are terrified of being abandoned, or they're gold diggers. And they're doing this so that they have a money influx coming in from this wealthy partner. So yeah, it's really, and this happens. And then let's talk about adoption. So this is by Lynn Grubb. And this is a blog about the adoption experience, and it's called Narcissism and Adoption, Very Likely Bedfellows. And she talks about how abusers use the adoption system, especially in the past when adoption was closed. And I don't even know if it's still closed to this day, but there are closed adoptions where you can't find out any information about the birth parents. I think that's wrong, especially given all of the genetic diseases that can be passed down. You need to have that medical history. You need to know if there is, say, for example, schizophrenia in the family before you can make an informed choice of deciding to have a child. And honestly, that's part of the reason why John and I chose not to, is because my uncle on my mom's side was a paranoid schizophrenic. And I told John, I said, it runs in the family. And I've got 8 generations of alcoholics on the other side. So, not a really good combination. So we discussed, the pros and the cons, and we decided ultimately that we did not want children. So, but these are things that need to be out in the light. And in the past, there were closed adoptions where the birth mother was shamed for, and this is the 60s, 50s and 60s, shamed for getting pregnant, or, shamed for giving the child up. And then, the adoption happens. And let's say that the person that adopts is a narcissist. They let that kid know in no uncertain terms that they're not theirs. I have seen that happen as well. And then if they go on to have a birth child of their own, they will make it clear to the adopted child that they favor the birth child over the adopted child. And I can't even, because to me, it's like, if you choose to adopt, that child is yours, period. And you treat them as yours. You don't treat them differently, and you don't keep pointing it out to them. But abusive parents will keep pointing it out to them. And this is something that Lynn Grubbs talks about in her article. Hang on. She also talks about how it's easier, like I talked about, for abusers to abuse, especially if the child is developmentally disabled. And she also talks about Joan Crawford in her article, and I think that was a brilliant point. Joan Crawford adopted her kids not because she wanted children and was, mother of the year, obviously, mommy dearest, but she adopted them so that she could fit this Hollywood image that she needed to portray of this mother of the year. And then Christina, her adopted daughter, wrote this tell-all book basically saying, yeah, no, this was not good. She used to beat us if we had wire hangers. She would beat us if we didn't, do things exact. We had to be perfect and this, that, and the other thing. And we were there for photo ops, and then we got put away. So yeah, a lot of times abusers will go the adoptive route because it suits their need for the false narrative, for the look how noble I am, look how wonderful I am, look how, I'm putting myself out adopting and this, that, and the other. And in the meanwhile, they're abusing the heck out of the kids. And this happens a lot. There's been a lot of stories coming out in the adoption community about abusers that do this. It was more likely to happen in the 60s and the 50s, but it still happens today. So this is something to think about when you are dealing with a partner and you're thinking that they may have narcissism or they may be an abuser or whatever. You don't want that. So anyway, Lynn Grubbs' article is really, really good. It's a blog and it's really long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But basically, she goes into everything that I've been talking about. She's, there's a lack of accountability. There's a lack of transparency. There's very few places that children can turn to when an abuser starts abusing, especially if they're developmentally disabled, it's frightening. And it bothers me because there's been several articles on CNN recently about child abuse. One of the most recent ones was a guy in New Jersey who separated. The grandmother and the spouse, the wife, were constantly making calls to the Department of Children's Services, concerned about the child, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The abusive dad kept telling the kid that he was fat, put him onto a treadmill, ran him to death, hit him, obviously did internal damage, and the child died. So it bothers me that the Department of Children's Services across the country are completely incompetent. I'm sorry, let's just call it what it is. They wait until the child dies. They wait until there is harm before they step in. And if you look at the family courts, I posted one on my We Need to Talk page. If you look at the family courts, you get these judges who are refusing, because they are narcissists themselves, to separate the child from the abuser. And they're like, oh, we're here to reunite the family. That is an outdated mode of thinking. Now, are there abusive parents that do parental alienation? Absolutely. And in that case, the child needs to be with the healthier parent. However, there's also cases where the abuser is there and they just want the kid to use as a pawn to harm, to hurt, to whatever, to manipulate. And honest to God, our system is so screwed up. We need social workers in on the family court system, and we need judges to be forced to recuse themselves if they keep making these stupid judgments that are harming the kids. It's like getting a family back together should not be the main focus. Making sure the child is safe should be the main focus, and it's not. So I'm sorry, I just went off on a tangent. Anyway, there is that. Okay, one more article, and this is on Psychology Today. Narcissistic women may use pregnancy as a power play. So again, they plan them to keep the breakup or divorce from happening. They plan them to get more money. They may lie about their birth control. They use the children or the pregnancy to their advantage to hurt their partner or to trap them in a relationship. And this was Narcissistic Women May Use Pregnancy as Power by Dr. Christy Lee Hockenberger. So that's a really, really good article as well. Narcissism and the surprise pregnancy is part of this article, faking the pregnancy. Yeah, it's a really, really good article. I really liked it. Anyway, so there is that. So children are used as pawns by a narcissist before the poor kid is even born. Like, seriously. So, and something else that I've seen narcissists do is they will tell their child that they conceived through in vitro, which is extremely expensive. We all know that. They will tell the child, oh, you're my $10,000 baby, but not like you're my $10,000 baby as in, I am so thrilled I spent this money to have you. It's, you're my $10,000 baby and you should feel guilty about it because look at how much money I spent to get you. And then they ignore the kid. They shove them into a room. They have nannies watch them. Or they don't have nannies watch them. They just shove them into a room and somehow expect them to raise themselves. And that's not how parenting works. And they will accept the child as long as the child is their mini-me, is the golden child, acts just like them, thinks just like them, does everything just like them. They're perfectly okay with that until the child starts making up their own minds and decisions and things like that. So a child in a narcissistic parental unit is never there because the child is wanted or loved or, that. The child is there to prove something or to get something or to make the abuser look good. With my dad, all of us, all 5 of us were always like, why in the hell did he have kids? Well, because back in the day, you had to prove you were virile and he was a Marine. So he had to prove he was virile and a Marine, and he just kept pushing them out or having kids. He never wanted any of us. He never liked any of us. He never bothered playing with any of us. But for appearances, he was an attorney. He was a community pillar. So he had to show that he was virile and that he was, a good dad and this, that, and the other thing. And oh my dear God, it's always appearances. It's not because they really want children. Somebody who really wants children spends time with them, teaches them, loves them, cares for them, makes sure that they are not abandoned, make sure that they're not just shoved in a room and ignored. Every single child of abuse I have ever dealt with as an adult is a ninja. They are able to sneak into a room and you never hear them. Why? Because the abuser trained them to be silent, to not be heard, to not be seen, to not be real, So this is what abusive parents do. It's like the kid has got a job before they're even conceived. So with an abuser, if they're using a pregnancy to keep somebody with them, that kid's job is to keep that marriage together or to keep that person with them. Or if they're gold diggers on top of that, to get the money that comes with that. So yeah, they all do all of that. They absolutely do. And if they're super abusive, they'll use the adoption as an opportunity to abuse, and especially if they adopt special needs children that can't say anything. So it's, who's going to believe the kids? Who's going to even think to ask the kids? Especially if you've got one of those communal narcissists that's like, oh, look at how noble I am. Look at this, look at that. They won't even think to ask the kids. Nobody thought to ask Joan Crawford's kids, until they were adult and started writing books, So yeah, there it is. Don't even get me started. Okay, so to recap. Children are always used as pawns, always, from the second they are conceived or before. Abusers will fake pregnancies. Abusers will sabotage birth control. Abusers will then use those kids as a financial gain, or they'll use those kids as an emotional manipulation, emotional leverage against the other partner to keep them together or to get money. And they will change their tune. So this is why I'm always mortified when I have clients that come in and go, oh, I met someone and we're getting married and I've known them for 3 months. And I'm like, oh my God, no. You got some talking to do. You've got some things to lay out and make sure that you guys are on the same page. So, because they'll do that. They'll mirror what they think you want. And then as soon as they gotcha, like a gotcha, then they'll change their tune and no, I want kids, that kind of thing. So, anyway, there that is. Okay, let's dive into the questions. Okay. I need my glasses. I can't see this writing. It's too small and my eyes are too old. Okay. Do narcissists have children they don't want? Yes. And then tell the child they were never wanted? Yes. And that they are worthless to create a trauma bond with this child? Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Yes, absolutely they do. So abusers enjoy harming, hurting, putting down. That was another article that I didn't put up, but it was talking about children as pawns and how the abuser, and this was more into the divorce side of it, but they were talking about how the abuser will do that to create a trauma bond, to harm the other parent. So remember, when you're in the middle of a divorce battle with one of these monsters, they'll do anything, say anything to hurt you. They don't care because honestly, children to them have no more meaning than this pen. We have no more meaning to them than this pen. We don't. So partners have no more meaning to them than this pen. Children have no more meaning to them, to this pen. To them, it's okay. I'm using you. Oh, look, the ink is out. Oh, well, okay. You're not important anymore. You can't, what can you do for me? That's seriously how they do that. So when they are in the middle of a horrible divorce, and sometimes not even in the middle of a horrible divorce, they will harm, they will hurt, they will lie to the child. They will say the most horrible things to that child to hurt them. Why? Because they're sick mother cluckers and they get off on the sadism. So you are dealing with somebody that would say that to a child, first of all, needs to go sideways with an unlubricated baseball bat. You know what I'm saying. So they're dark triads. They're sadists, they're psychopaths, they're narcissists, and they're control freaks. And they enjoy inflicting the pain. They will say the most heinous things. My dad used to say horrible things to me. He would, oh my God. You know, if you want to know what he said, you can read What's Wrong with Your Dad, available on Amazon. So no, seriously, they will say the most horrible things. They will tell the child intentionally, I never wanted you. You're a burden. You're this, you're that, blah, blah. And basically, guys, if their lips are moving, they're lying. And if their lips are moving, they're projecting. So guess who they really hate and really who is a burden? It's not you guys, it's them. Okay. So because this is, this is the thing that my dad used to do to me. It's all your fault that I can't retire. And he said that to me from the time I can remember. So I'm sitting here going, as a 6-year-old, kind of like, did I have a choice in coming down here? Well, I guess spiritually I would have, but it's like, look, dude, I'm not the one that didn't wear a condom. And I actually said that to him one time and he hit me. Big surprise. Not when I was 6, when I was older, but, yeah, they will blame the kid for their life. This is why they want children. I'm so glad you asked this question. This is why they want children, either to connect them to a partner or so that they have somebody to blame. And have narcissistic supply, because they're sadists and they enjoy inflicting the pain and they love the tears. Your tears are delicious to them. And yes, they are creating a trauma bond. Abso-freaking-lutely. They enjoy it and they love the fact that they're keeping you connected to them with this crazy trauma bond. I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you. What? It's very confusing to a kid. So yeah, they will tell the kid these things like, you're not wanted, I don't like you, blah, 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 blah. And then on the flip side, they're like, oh, I love you. Oh, you're just, or something similar. Maybe not I love you, but, because my dad would do that. My dad would, like, on the one hand, I can't retire because of you. And then if I made him look good, oh, this is my daughter. Oh, yeah, well, my daughter, I taught her everything. And I'm sitting there looking at him going, like hell you did. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So yeah, they absolutely do that. It's disgusting. And yes, they tell the child they were never wanted. They do tell them they're worthless to create a trauma bond. And they do it because they enjoy the drama. They enjoy the pain. They enjoy the hurt. They enjoy the look on your face. They enjoy the tears. They're sick. They're sick. They're sick. So the best antidote to that is getting with a good trauma therapist. Seriously. And Bessel van der Kolk was talking about it. And Kim Saeed, I love her. She's been talking about how the DSM is just completely corrupt. And it is, because they're refusing to put in anything that would help abuse survivors deal with all of this. They are trying to get rid of the narcissism, the personality disorders. Yeah, there's a lot of narcissists in the psychiatric community, unfortunately, and they're in positions of power. Gee, what a surprise. So, anyway, what was I saying? Okay, the antidote to that is self-esteem, and get with a good trauma therapist. Start unpacking this stuff. Start recognizing the intermittent positive rewards, the trauma bonding. Start recognizing that your parent was completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Healthy, normal parents don't say that to a kid. Ever. It's like my dad also made a point of telling me that I was an oops baby. And I'm just like, thanks, Dad. It's like, why would you do that? So Self-Esteem Workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, read it. CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving, Pete Walker. Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor, or any Inner Child Workbook. I don't care. If these particular books don't mesh with you, go find something similar that does. It doesn't have to be those books. I just happen to like those books. So start working on that. Write and burn a letter to that parent. Dear abusive parent, who in the holy cluck says that to a kid? Nobody's saying, that's for sure. Thanks for playing. Go pound sand, you crazy bleep, 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 bleep. Get out of my head. You don't get to live up here rent-free one more second. Bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you. Bye-bye. And then trot it out to the barbecue. Read it out loud once. Burn it. Let it go. Let the words go to heaven or hell. More than likely hell. But you know what I'm saying? Wherever that person is, let the words just, let the wind carry the words to where they need to go. There you go. Let it go. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Go pound sand. Go play into traffic. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See where I'm going with that? So yeah, it's not fair and it's stupid and it's abusive. And any parent that says that, oh my God, and it's just like when parents tell the kid they're stupid. That's abuse. That is abuse. That is abuse. Who is really stupid? That parent. Because you tell a child often enough that they're stupid or they're bad or they're not wanted or whatever, it wears on them. And that is intentional on their part. Absolutely. So the antidote, self-esteem, trauma therapy, breaking the trauma bond, reading the books, doing the work, writing and burning. Yes. So there it is. Okay. And I feel you because been there, done that. Okay. Why do glasses? All right. Why do children of narcissistic parents procrastinate, avoid health checkups, and even when they have a seriously debilitating condition? What purpose does this avoidance serve? It's the only thing we have control over, guys. It's the only thing we have control over is being able to not do something. So procrastinating. So show me a procrastinator and I will show you somebody who had an over-controlling parent. Seriously. So seriously, it's kind of like we dig our heels in the sand and we go, I'm not going to do that. I do what I want and I do it when I want. We do because it's the only thing we had control over is whether we did or did not do something. So procrastinating is a sign of trauma. It is a trauma response. Hell yes. So it's funny because as I was growing up, I had to overcome that. And now I've kind of got the attitude that if I'm not done early or if I'm not someplace 15 minutes early, I'm late, which is also a kind of trauma response, but I would rather be early than late. So it's equating doing things for yourself. This is self-care, especially if we're procrastinating on health things. That's self-care, guys. Self-care is not all candles and Epsom salts in the bath. Self-care is making sure you're going to your yearly physical, making sure that you're getting things taken care of, getting your teeth cleaned, making sure that you're going to a dermatologist and checking for moles. That's self-care. All of these little things are self-care. Health is self-care. So especially when we had a parent that was controlling and manipulative, part of that is a trauma response and going, screw you, I'm not doing it. Nope, I do what I want. Yeah, it's kind of like a taking back power kind of thing in a very kind of maladaptive way. But it's a common occurrence with survivors of abuse. The other thing of it is it's self-esteem. If we constantly had an abuser that was like, you're not good enough, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your input. Shut the bleep up. Why? Because I say so. I am good enough. I do deserve to take care of myself, and I am going to make that appointment right now. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it's a self-esteem issue. People who love themselves take good care of themselves, drink plenty of water, get their physicals done, make sure that they're up on their health appointments, that kind of thing. There's that, what's the word I'm looking for? Basic assumption that the abusive parent of origin gave us, which was, we're not worth it. We're not worth it. No, you're not worth it. Nasty. So it's working on the self-esteem. It's getting with a good trauma therapist. It is unpacking all of that. Writing and burning, letting that parent know, you know what? I just made the appointment. Screw you. I'm going to go take care of myself. This is self-care. I love myself. I love myself enough to do self-care. Mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? It's okay to get things done. It's okay to do self-care. It's okay to make those medical appointments. You are worth it. Why? Because I say so. And then you walk out. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. They're the ones that taught us how not to love ourselves. All right. So I hope that answers that question. Also, it's a bit of people pleasing. So think about it. If the abuser kept saying, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare, then we quickly go, well, what's going to make them happy? Oh, they want me to be sick. Oh, and some abusers, okay, remember I talked about Munchausen by proxy? Some abusers want the kids to be sick or to be harmed or to be whatever so that they can be the long-suffering martyr, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a bit of people-pleasing going on with that. So you want to kind of unpack all of that and figure out what, who, what, when, where, how, why. Write it out, challenge it, and then action. So the action is, okay, you need to make these appointments. You're going to make these appointments, set the alarm, go do it. And then notice how this pops up and tries to sabotage you. And then you just keep smacking it down. Keep doing the mirror work. Get with a good trauma therapist. Okay, so there's that. Hope that answered that question. Okay. Why would a narc force his wife to do an abortion? Oh, if they want another supply, surely they would welcome the pregnancy. Or is it to get better control over the wife? It's to get better control over the wife. So basically what they will do is they will insist on an abortion, and then they will twist it so that it wasn't their idea, it was the wife's idea. And then they guilt. You know, I mean, they're sick. They're just sick. It's a way to gain control. And it's a way to, in a sick way, it's their way of going, see, I have absolute control over your body. I can make you pregnant and I can make you get rid of the baby. Dennis Leary had a song. I cannot sing it because it's swearing, but it's like, because they're in a holy, you know, they are. That's what they do. It's power and control. Power and control. Plus the fact, think about it, hang on. Oftentimes what will happen is the narcissist will insist on having a child. The spouse gets pregnant, has the baby, and then the narcissist comes unglued because the spouse is spending all of their time on the newborn. How many of us have seen that? Oh boy, I've seen that a lot in clients. Oh my God. Yeah. So they'll have the wife get pregnant, and male, female, doesn't matter. Same sex, heterosexual, doesn't matter. So the wife gets pregnant, has the baby, starts spending the normal amount of time you would with a newborn, because newborns are intensive. Hello. And then they get pissed and jealous that this child is getting all of this attention, and they'll start trying to make the spouse feel bad and wrong for spending all of this time with this newborn. Yeah, because they're crazy. So it's all about power and control. It's all about power and control. That's all it is for them. It's not about this little beautiful being's life. It's about power and control for them because they're jerks. Okay, I hope that answered. I keep forgetting I have glasses on. Hope that answered the question. Yeah, you would think that it would be like, oh, another supply, but no, it's really to gain control over the spouse is what that's all about, and to inflict guilt. Yep. Okay. Is it common for narc parents to give up the child? I have known a narc who had baby after baby, but they gave up the child each time. Yeah, it can be. It depends on what the circumstances are. You know, narcissists are so strange. So it's like, yeah, they can do that. They absolutely can. And a lot of times you want to look at what is the motivation? What is the payoff? And so actually, not a lot of times, all of the times, what's the payoff? What are they getting out of it? Are they getting, the poor me's? Are they getting the poor you? Oh, you're a victim. Oh, this, that, and the other thing. That would be covert narcissism. Are they overt narcissists? Are they, what's the payoff? You always want to look at what is the payoff. There's a payoff for this kind of behavior. There is. So yeah. They can do that as well. Okay, hang on. Oh my goodness. All right. Do narc parents use their children to make each other jealous? Yes. How on earth can a child grasp what's going on? They can't. Please, if you could talk about that, thank you. Okay. So yeah, narcissistic parents will become incredibly jealous of the child. And so, they'll resent the fact that one partner is paying attention to that. Or as the child grows, they'll use the child as a pawn, a mini-me, they'll try to alienate while the relationship is still going. Let's be clear here, guys. Parental alienation doesn't just happen when the divorce happens. Parental alienation starts from conception, seriously, because they've got an agenda. So they will use the child as a mini-me, and they'll like try to groom them to be exactly like them while the relationship is still going. They will try to interfere in a healthy relationship between each, parent. So Normal parents, you play with the kid, you're equal. You're happy that they're spending time with both. With an abusive parent, with a narcissistic parent, they get jealous if the child obviously prefers spending time with the other parent. Now, my dad would do that. My dad was insanely jealous of my mom because all of us preferred spending time with her than him because he was the crazier of the two. Not saying much, but yeah, he was. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like he would vocalize, well, how come they never want to be with me? Well, maybe it's because you're hitting us all the time, you jerk. So yeah, they get these weird, screwy ideas and jealousy is, and especially the child can't understand that cognitively. This is what I've seen abusers do, is that they have children and they expect these little ones, like, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to behave like little adults. Cognitively, they cannot. They don't have the cognitive ability to process things the way emotions, events, the way an adult does. And yet they expect them to be able to sit for hours and act like a little adult. I mean, it's just insane. So yeah, they've got these weird expectations that are unreasonable that the child can't possibly fulfill. And so then they punish them for not being able to sit for hours. I'm 57. I still can't sit for hours. Dear Lord, but they expect these little 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds to sit for hours and be quiet. And it's like, that's not what kids do. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. And they use the kid as a pawn between them and the other parent. They use them as a shield. They use them as protection. So what I've seen in really dysfunctional families, and my family did this, is that, mom would use us to protect her from dad. So something that I want to point out is that, the pawns in a chess game, they're all there to protect the king and queen. King and queen are not there to protect the pawns. And that's what children of narcissists end up doing and end up being used as, is that we are there to enhance or protect the king and the queen, the narcissists, either male or female, and they're not there to protect us. It's kind of like we're on our own. So it's very much, it is a game of chess for them. It is. And they do use the kids as either their own personal shields, or they use the child to inflict pain or jealousy onto the other parent, or they use the child to become a mini-me, or that, there's not, because here's the thing, kids are not mini-me's. Kids have their own rich inner life and their own wants and their own needs. And the second those children reach the point where they're able to express those things clearly, the abuser comes unglued and starts punishing them for not continuing to be that perfect little mini me. And these are the parents that are the helicopter parents that insist that the kid plays a sport that the kid doesn't want to play, but that's what the parent was good at, or they'll become the coach for that particular game. So the kid can never get away from them, ever get away from them, ever. It's like that parent is right there trying to mold them. You're going to be me, damn it. You're going to be me, damn it. You're going to be me, damn it. Crazy. And kids cannot process that, guys. Kids don't understand what's going on. It's really hard being in a dysfunctional family. You come out of that and you're just like, oh my God, it's not fun. It's not fun for the kids. It's not fun for the other parent. It's just not, and it's not fair. It's not fair. And yeah, they do use kids to inflict jealousy. They use kids for everything. So there that is. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing good. All right. Classes, hang on. Okay. So how do you help the child with that? That's a good question. I want to answer that before I go to the next question. So first of all, you get the hell away from the abuser. That is the best thing to do. And of course, then there's the whole question of, okay, 50-50 custody, they'll be with them 50% of the time. They're going to do parental alienation. What do I do? That whole thing. Well, we've talked about that in other videos. You make sure that you get the kids into therapy, play therapy if they're little and they don't have the cognitive ability to do talk therapy. You get them into play therapy. You get you into trauma therapy, and you start making sure to work on self-esteem for those kids, that they have a right to be their own person. They have a right to think their own thoughts. Remember, abusers cannot stand differing opinions. They will punish the child. So, for example, I have seen abusers where the kid will say something like, oh, no, thank you. I don't like bread pudding. I like chocolate pudding. And because the abuser likes bread pudding, well, why don't you like bread pudding? You need to like bread pudding. What is wrong with bread pudding? What is wrong with you? You know, and they make it this whole personal attack as to why the kid doesn't like bread pudding, which they will. I know that sounds crazy, and it is, but it's real. They do that. They will attack the child personally for not liking something that the abuser likes. So the way to help the child through all of this is self-esteem and boundaries. Self-esteem and boundaries. And then you point out, it's okay for you to have your own opinions. Like, whatever mommy or daddy says, it's okay for you to have your opinion. You can like chocolate pudding if you want to, and you don't need to like bread pudding. It's okay. You know, you keep reinforcing that they're not wrong, because what abusers do is they do that personal attack. You're wrong. You're bad. You're stupid. You're this, you're that, if you don't think exactly like how I think. So the best way to help children through all of this craziness, you get them into a damn good trauma therapist. You make sure that's written in your divorce decree. You make sure they're working on self-esteem, boundaries, and you make sure the positive affirmations every day, every day, every day. And don't ignore the kid. It drives me crazy when adults, you know, when you're in a group setting and the kid starts to talk and everybody starts talking over him, I will shut everybody down and go, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm listening. I got you. I got you here. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. That is really good. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. You know, you don't ever shut a kid down. You don't treat a kid like they're not a person. They are a person. They're still a little person, but they're not a mini-me. And they don't have the cognitive ability to process stuff, but they do know when they're being slighted. They do know when they're being shut down. They do know when they're being ignored. Don't get me started. Okay, so there is that. So self-esteem really is the key to all of this. Okay. Alrighty then. How do you take your power back? How do you get over seeing yourself as a pawn, a resource for parents to brag about, someone who needs to succeed all of the time? Excellent question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, so what abusers will do is they will use the kid as a form of aggrandizing themselves. So we get the message very quickly, you have to be perfect. You have to be perfect. You have to make me look good. Oh my God. They do that. So basically, perfection is impossible. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. And in fact, how do we learn? By making mistakes. That's the only way to learn, is to, you know, something didn't work out. Well, crap, that didn't work out. What can I do differently next time? And you do something different. Does that make sense? But with an abuser, they inflict and inject this need for perfection, and it stops us. I think I've talked about this in other videos recently, where we get this analysis paralysis because we're like, oh my God, I'm not perfect. Oh my God, I need to be perfect. Oh my God, I need to do this. Oh my God, I need to do that. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Perfection. It's all mental mind shenanigans. Okay. So get with a really, really, really good trauma therapist and work on getting rid of the perfectionism. Now, my dad did very similar things. You know, if I made him look good, oh, I was his. If I didn't make him look good, oh, the abuse was nonstop. So again, it's CPTSD from surviving to thriving, Pete Walker, putting it back onto the abuser. You know, it took me years, but I finally got where I was like, this has nothing to do with me and everything to do with him. Interesting. Okay. You know, and you don't allow them to own you. You get out of that mindset of being a pawn by stepping out of the circle, stepping out of the drama triangle. So remember, the drama triangle is the villain, the victim, and the hero. So you step out of it. You just don't play. You just don't play. And you acknowledge yourself for your own abilities and your own successes. And you own those. Write yourself a love letter. What do you love about you? What is awesome about you? What is unique about you? And you own that, you know? Hey, guess what, abuser? None of this stuff I just wrote down is about you. It's about me. So go pound sand, have a nice life. And by have a nice life, I mean go pound sand. You know what I'm saying? So you start owning your own successes. It's like the imposter syndrome. right? Because they keep coming in and taking it away from us. Oh, it's me. Oh, I made them that way. Oh, I did this for them. Oh, I. You know what I'm saying? So you start owning your own successes, and you probably are going to, if they're still in your life, you're probably going to go low to no contact and stop allowing them to step in and take success from you. They can say whatever they want, and they're going to. You can't stop them from doing that, but you know the truth. And that's really, in the end of the day, that's what matters. So anyway, let's see what else we got, or if that was the last one. Yes. So basically, it is working on self-esteem. It is working on boundaries. It is taking your power back. It is putting it back onto the abuser. And if you know somebody who is being victimized, harmed by one of these people, and they're putting pressure on them to have kids or whatever, have a talk with them. Seriously. It's like, do you really want children with this person? Do you really? And they may punch you out of their life. They might. But, it's at least you will have tried. So, okay. So I hope that answered the question. They use us as pawns before we're even conceived. We have a job to do before we are even on the scene. So there it is. Okay. So next week, we are going to be talking about wills, inheritance, the elderly narcissist. So like old age, wills, inheritance. That's what I'm going to title it, because if I put the word narcissism in it, they all come unglued. So, all right, wills, old age, inheritance. That's going to be next week. We're going to talk about how to deal with the crazy families, dealing with funerals, all that sort of fun stuff. Yay. All right, guys, go have a great week. Don't forget, on Wednesday, I will be answering the questions I did not get a chance to answer. Don't forget to sign up or get your tickets for Salt Lake City and for Santa Barbara, because if I don't get tickets within like 2 weeks of that date, I'll cancel it, because I need to have enough to at least pay for the airline tickets. So there it is, my loves. All right, you guys go have a great week, and I will talk to you next week or Wednesday. Bye.